You're dealing with people. Every person should be dealt the same. And I got to tell you one thing. I'm born and raised here. If I see any discrepancy about how people are being treated, we have a new director being appointed, and I serve on the committee that okays him. There's going to be a lot of questions asked of him by me. No one should be judged by the color of their skin, their ethnic origin, the place they live in, their age, or any other discrimination of whatever they are. I'm tired of it. It needs not to be done or even talked about because it shouldn't happen. I'm not going to blame anybody. But henceforward, with a new director, he better be prepared to do the right thing, because we're going to keep him to that task. And I think the problem comes from the top down. And it's got to be told. You know, in my other life, before I was in the Senate, I worked in the corporate world. And we got directives of what we were supposed to do. It made no difference what your title was by your name. The directive was coming from the top down. And the director, you knew what your responsibilities were. You knew what your latitude was in your job. Not everybody's the CEO or the boss. You do a job, and you do it properly, and you handle it correctly. And the biggest thing, our kids will be that happy little kid that I just showed you on that picture, and it didn't make any difference what his last name was. It doesn't make any difference in the color of his skin. It doesn't make the difference if he's a male or female. They all should be happy. And thank you for being here today.
All right, I think my senator said quite a bit that I definitely agree with. I want to thank everybody that took the time to come, for those that took the time to speak, to share your experiences. You know, we do have two representatives here, well, more than two, from DCFS. I do believe that they have heard you, and they've heard you loud and clear that we need to look at some changes, particularly here in Lake County. There are some opportunities, you know, definitely here in Lake County to do things better, and we want to see things do better. I definitely believe that there should be that partnership between DCFS and the provider. They should not be going in with a mindset of shutting you down, but to helping you to grow your business and to be successful, because that's really what we want across the board. I did see some individuals that I wanted to thank for coming. Park Commissioner and Fire Chief Bridges was here earlier. He did have to return back to work, but I just want everybody to know that he did stop by. Alderman Carl Evans was here as well. Yeah. Our new Lake County Sheriff, John Eidelberg, is still here. Thank you so much for coming. This is an important subject. So when you get other individuals that come out and, you know, and to show your support, because they want to hear your stories, they want to know what it is that you're going through as well. And I believe this was a very, very good forum that we had today. And Ralph, I know you said you want to march. We get a new director. He doesn't start till the 15th. Give him a day or two to get in before you protest. Okay, but we hear what you're asking for, and we want changes. And we have the interim director. She's going to be working with the new director, letting him know what some of the challenges are that we're having here in Lake County. So I'm going to respectfully ask that maybe we work with them to see if we can get some resolution on some of these issues rather quickly. Thank you so much. And again, thank you everybody for coming.
So on behalf of DCFS, we thank you so much for having us here today to hear your concerns. It was very disheartening to hear some of the comments, but I can assure you that those comments will be taken very seriously and investigated. The one thing that is totally not acceptable is bad customer service. I treat all of my staff with respect, and the anticipation is that they treat been disrespected in this room, I publicly apologize to you for that disrespect. We will meet. George Vinnie Camden and I will meet with the licensing representatives and look at things that needs to be changed. The license, I cannot promise you that everyone will have a license, but I can tell you, if we tell you no, it will be in a respectful way with the information. You need to know why your license was not granted. So, and I would like for you to invite us back in 6 months so you can let us know if we've made some improvement.
Yeah.
Just before we go, I want to thank the staff, Mrs. Lewis, for helping us to compile all of the information, because as she said, we talk to many service providers, and so what we try to do is take all that information and put it in some type of closing presentation. I just want to take and share with you, because again, everyone couldn't be here, but this is just some of the things a lot of them had to say. And as you can see from those present, Ms. Webster, numerous African American, Latinos, and Caucasians were either denied due process or access to state resources. Applications was processed at an alarming slow rate under the current management structure, and the licensing process traditionally, I understand, was 3 to 4 months, has regressed into a 1 to 2 year process. Daycare centers should take no longer than 3 to 6 months, but now look like that's taken over to 2 years, and that should be unacceptable, because customer service is very important. The Lake County area, many daycare providers were consistently provided with numerous excuses by management team as to DCFS inability to perform its duties in a timely manner. It should not take up to 2 years to complete the initial licensing process. It seems as though certain members of the community applications were, materials was lost and having to resubmit only further decline that process of getting a license renewed. DCFS has always given priority seemingly to the Child Protection Division. For the sake of terrible headlines as a result of daycare licensing is often ignored. However, the goal of this management team appears to reduce the number of daycare facilities and daycare license holders seemingly by any means necessary. As a result of the licensing starting process and the licensing renewal process has been lengthened to 1 or 2 years, revocations to reduce the number of daycare providers has increased under the leadership team. Many minority providers were prevented from operating by licensing management instead of allowing a due process, meaning providers were denied access to public information, the opportunity for clarification, provided with erroneous and often conflicting information. Numerous applications have moved on, and numerous applicants have moved on and withdrawn their attempts to obtain a license to lengthen the time that is required. And as you can see, many of them just shut down and refuse to do daycare anymore. Criminal histories are analyzed and utilized against providers by management team and workforce with little ability to understand ramifications of their interpretations of the person's past. Licensing precedents and traditions have been blatantly ignored by the management team as compared to the previous management team. It is in our opinion that the goal appears to be to reduce the number of licensing facilities that are required to monitor, regulate, initiate by licensing. The goal is not to protect the community from providers and potential providers with whom management deem unworthy, in our opinion. It is our opinion that management has neglected the Latino community, justified it by not providing public information in their primary language. Management has ensured there are few receptionists and workers that are bilingual. Licensing management has taken advantage and utilized language barriers to increase the perception of a Spanish-speaking provider as cause to increase violation and ultimately revoking or refusing to renew their license. Management has ensured providers and applicants are denied access to resources by controlling with whom they communicate, so that when provided with conflicting information, management has used that against the providers. Management has repeatedly attempted to pressure providers to surrender their daycare licenses over the phone, which is not recorded. Management has repeatedly utilized the initiation of child protection investigation to close facilities even if the risk is removed, and move to revocate licenses to the conclusion of the investigation. Management has stated licensing does not require the same or similar burden of proof as required in criminal or child protection investigations. There are too many instances of individuals that the licensing management team has attempted to bully, intimidate, close down, and prevent the issuance of a license, and has utilized all resources within DCFS to assist them. They have enlisted the assistance with the legal department to offer irrational justification and erroneous legal arguments to support licensing decision, to deny clearance and revoke existing licenses. The enforcement unit has assisted the management team in supporting licensing management decision to deny clearance and revoke license. Licensing has utilized open and incomplete child protection investigation to justify business disruption, child care disruption, etc., even when the identified risk is removed. Licensing management has utilized the local resource and referral agencies as the YWCA to harass, intimidate, and place additional financial burden on daycare providers. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you who have voiced your concerns, and although you were not all able to speak, you show your support by your presence here today. Let's be clear. Daycare providers are taxpayers and fund the state of Illinois Department of Children and Family Services. Fact one, daycare providers and their family members pay taxes. It is an established fact that daycare providers, along with taxpayers in Illinois, are responsible for the salaries of all DCFS workers. Fact two, daycare providers and their families and friends vote. They vote for officials in local, state, and federal elections. State agency employees are paid by the taxpayers, therefore they work for the taxpayers. Fact three, if the politicians you vote in office and fund their salaries choose not to address your issues here or now, what is in your best interest, you have the ability to mobilize and hold them accountable. The governor has the ability to submit names for nomination for the director of DCFS, and the Senate has the responsibility to confirm or block the governor's recommendation. Children and Family Services regulates, monitor, issue license, and has the ability to revoke a daycare license. DHS budget provides subsidized assistance to help parents afford daycare through the YWCA. You should inform your state senator that you, as a taxpayer and voting base, will oppose any nomination that will continue to allow DCFS to threaten your ability to start and maintain a business. But more importantly, as a taxpayer, voter, small business owner, you have rights. You have the right to expect public officials to treat you fairly. You have the right to expect them to treat you with respect, with dignity, providing professional service environment, honesty, access to public information, and due process. Anything less is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. How long will daycare providers who are taxpayers, small business owners, voters accept the disrespect and hostility toward daycare providers? When is enough enough? These providers stated that this has been happening for the past 5 years or so, and at least since the current day licensing department administrators have been in their position. Licensing representatives, with the support of their administrators, have committed numerous offenses against the daycare providers and should be held accountable. No one is above the law, even state employees. Many of them have gone through their own private hell in an effort to open businesses or to survive after DCFS and DHS via the YWCA did not due process and destroy the taxpayer's ability to earn a living and feed their family. Many in DCFS have enabled and contributed to the continuation of the problem. Offenses to include intimidation and the denial of due process is unacceptable. It appears from my lens of view that the agency officials that are elevated from within seem to be satisfied with the standard practice and the way the agency has conducted itself, and are likely not willing to understand or empathize with the troubled situation. It appears that they are more concerned about their status and about their paychecks. Director B.J. Walker heard Ms. Harris' concerns and did nothing to alleviate them. Acting Director Ms. Dyer, Deborah, became interim director after B.J. Walker, and the problem in practice continued. When those directors were informed of the daycare providers' issues of intimidations, denial of payments, denial of due process to open or maintain a business, they did nothing. Therefore, the problem persists which is why so many of you are here today. They had the ability and the authority to intervene, but they did nothing but intensify everything. It appears to have gotten worse, and the abuse of the authority by some employees continue. Whenever it is said, I'm going to look into it and get back to you, you must hold them accountable and make sure you have a paper trail to document your efforts. The governor has picked Mr. Mark D. Smith, Executive Vice President of Foster Care and Intact Services of the Olympia Field based on Martha's Health and Wellness to be the new director. Listen to this. He will be the 15th person to leave the Child Welfare Agency since 2003. That's 16 years. That's almost one director per year. A number that includes acting and interim director. This director is walking into an agency void of consistent long-term leadership. Everyone will have high hopes, but be cautiously optimistic. We want to say to our senator who's present today, who is responsible for voting him, that Mr. Smith be held accountable, and he's already stated that he's going to ask him some tough questions. I want to thank all of you, and I want to thank Ms. Gloria Harris for her concern, because it was through her, even though it seemed to be or appeared to be an evil intent. I want you to know today God has turned this into a good intent, because of her situation, and through the Black Chamber of Commerce and all of you are present, through our senator and representative office, we have gathered you all here today to help them to see the problem really is bigger than Gloria. It's a Lake County problem, and we want this matter resolved in Lake County, and we want to resolve in a manner that is efficient. We want to resolve in a manner that is timely, and we want to be able to say that we are proud to be in Lake County and have daycare centers and have daycare providers who love children and have a great relationship with the DCFS office, and not fear when they get a call from that office. Again, thank you so very much for attending, and we wish you all well, and all of you have a safe trip back to your destination. Thank you again. Thank you. You all may be dismissed.